Yes, I decided to study photography. And oh my god, was there a lot of stuff that I didn't know about. I started my studies in 2017 when I moved to the Netherlands, specifically in The Hague, to study photography at an art academy named Kabk. My studies were actually about documentary photography, which honestly I didn't think my photography was about at all. Quite surprising that I was not aware of how to do any self-reflection about my photography and how others were perceiving it. Moving abroad and becoming a full-time photographer, whether it's art photography or just building a photography business, may seem a bit discouraging. I'm here to tell you it's not. I was 30 years old when I decided to take the leap and move to another country and leave everything behind. And I must say I was terrified. I'm not going to sugarcoat that because I was terrified. And this was specifically because many of my friends had just ended their studies and were starting jobs at high-paying positions, and I was starting my studies abroad without knowing anyone or anything in the country. But guess what? No one is late here. There is no such thing as doing things at a wrong time. There is no such thing. We all have our unique timelines for everything. That's why I want to do everything I can to make it a little bit easier for you. So let's start. Number one, you will feel like you don't belong. Because you're just starting out your journey, it's normal for you to not know anyone and just feel that you're not quite connecting with anyone, just to find your spot in the place where you just moved in. And it will take time for you to find the people you vibe with, because not everyone is going to be that person. Especially if you're a foreigner, and also if you're a bit older, that will definitely make a difference in connecting with people. Luckily for me, Finnish and Dutch cultures were not that different from each other. It wasn't a complete culture shock for me to move there, but there were things that even I didn't understand. So yeah, I felt lonely at times. And don't get me wrong, there will be parties, maybe even every other day, but that doesn't mean that you're actually forming quality connections with others because you're just having fun with them and drinking, which can also be a way of connecting, of course, especially if you're younger. I know the big part for me feeling a bit more lonely was the fact that I was older than most of my classmates. It was also because my interests didn't meet with the people that I met with. So I had totally different interests besides photography, of course. So right away I couldn't find these outlets and ways to actually find the activities and hobbies to fulfill these interests of mine. With time, I did find wonderful people there. Some of them were 22 and others were 30s. It didn't matter what age they were, but it just required me to know where to look for these people and just what kind of people I was even looking for. So don't be afraid to look for events that are not connected with your school or the academy or parties that your classmates throw, because they're going to be fun, of course, but to really build a life and also community of your own that is separate from the academy, I feel you need to experience and look for other events that will actually bring you closer to the things that you actually enjoy. Let's be honest, you can be a photographer but still enjoy astrology or meditation, things that I found really interesting but wasn't able to find them right away when I moved in the country. Number two, everything you create, you need to be able to print out. And I know it doesn't feel like a shocker, but actually printing out every assignment you made, every picture you take, even if they're not worthy of printing out, it really added up. And paying 20 cents per A4 printed page, yeah, it wasn't cheap. And maybe also because I was studying in Finland before I moved to Netherlands and everything here was free, so you could print out without having to pay for the print. Of course, I was shocked. And oftentimes you were required to print these images out on quality image paper. So I'm not talking about basic A4 sheet that you're printing out a document, but it would have to be quality image paper. So you would have to have like a glossy thing or something. Not everything would be printed out on quality paper, but especially if you have like final images of a series that you were working on, you would have to be able to present them on a quality paper so you could really see the colors and details and everything. And afterwards, a lot of the paper was just tossed out. Obviously not the quality prints, because these could be reused in future assignments or maybe showing a broader view on what you've done during the year, but just regular paper would be just thrown out. The waste of money was insane. And what made it even worse was the fact that if if you weren't good at printing, which many of us weren't, we didn't know anything about it. We didn't know how to color correct or just, print it on whole paper and not just a part of it. You would be printing out stuff and then noticing that it came out the wrong way and you would have to print it again. And you would still have to pay for both of these. But printing out your work is really essential, and this is also one thing that I took out from studying at KBK, because once you see your images on the wall or on the floor just placed next to each other on a broader space, you will be able to see how they work together. You will be able to edit series better. So it was really something that I learned and use still to this day. But yeah, after I graduated, there was so many scrapbooks and just images on shitty paper that I had to throw out. And I was just quite sad that I had to do that and just throw everything away, because I just couldn't ship everything back to Finland. Number 3, you will be burnt out. And this is in no means to glamorize any burnouts. I don't know why, but in art academies and studying creative arts like fashion and art in general, I feel like being burnt out is a part of the study program. And I know it sounds pretty insane and even terrible, but this is what I learned when I was there. Because before, I would do everything at my own pace. Even studying at Finnish University before I did my exchange to Netherlands, I had all the time in the world to do all my assignments and essays. And if I had photography projects, I would have the time to actually discover new ideas and really do research. And I wouldn't have like super tight deadlines. So I wasn't like stressing out or anything. I was just doing things at my own pace, always knowing that whatever ideas I come up with, that's okay. And if I don't come up with any ideas, that's also okay. There was no pressure in actually becoming this photographer, but people were given the time that they needed because we study at different pace, right? Well, not in KBK. I think it's because of the really intense educational system the Dutch have, because we didn't have it in Finland, and we're really goal-oriented here too. But I feel like in the Netherlands, it was on a totally different level. And I'm not speaking about all the schools or all the education there, but specifically art education. I noticed that like they were really putting us under pressure to get this diamond out, and I felt that immediately when I arrived to the academy. I do feel like it's somehow pretty common to put students under pressure to sort of find their way, because they have a very restricted amount of time to come up with ideas. And through that intense time frame and also the feeling of being stressed, it will create new ideas. And also it will sort of weed out people who are not super invested in the field or the course that they're in. Because KBK actually had this system that if you were not able to show your progress and really show your reasonings why you were doing specific projects, you might actually fail the grade. And I never experienced anything like that. I always thought, okay, if you're failing a grade, you must be really terrible, right? Not in KBK. You could be actually a quite interesting photographer. But if you're not, let's say, really goal-oriented, or you couldn't reason why you were doing something, you were just photographing because it was fun for you, it wasn't enough for them. Every semester we had these days that were called collectives. These collective days would last for about a week, and people would be put in different slots, and they would have a specific time to show their teachers and other lecturers that were visiting the academy at this semester how much they've grown, developed their skills. So everything was supposed to be presented to these teachers and really shown reasons for them to not fail you. And these were really the opportunities to demonstrate that you were doing good and you actually knew what direction you were going, and just to show how well you performed under pressure. Because not only were the classes intense enough with all the assignments, but when the collective days arrived, you would actually have to do everything within like an hour or two to put everything on the wall. You would be given this corner and you would go and run around, just put shit on the wall and just try to make it as visually pleasing as possible, all while still staying super calm and knowing what are you going to put up on the walls. Other students would be helping you out and you would just be running around, but it was intense. And I was just laughing because I felt like this is not happening, right? This would actually show the teachers your readiness to progress to the next year. And this got so many students very stressed. I feel like maybe because I was older, maybe I was a bit more aware of my body, how my body worked and how to deal with stress in really short, intense events and happenings like this was some students were actually crying after collectives because it was so stressful for them. I kind of knew that if I didn't pass, there was probably good enough of a reason that they would want to fail me. I would see eventually how it's gonna go, so I wasn't stressing out too much. Just this new way of presenting your work and just having this intense pressure around that day or these collectives, doing assignments in the courses in general, that was something very new to me. So yes, I had to sort of relearn these study methods and the different pace that Dutch people had. And then we come to number 4. The academy really makes it possible for you to have really great connections. Before I started studying, I would hear people always saying, you need to network, you need to connect with, people and organizations on your field. And for me, it just sounded like I need to do uninteresting small talk with people that I'm not interested in, with people that I have nothing in common with. And I would be also doing it while nervous. Felt like a sort of a work job interview for me, like connecting with people, networking. And people who know me, they actually know that I hate small talk, but now that I'm a bit older, I wouldn't say I specifically hate small talk, but I would emphasize that I like discussions that are a bit more in depth. But now that I understand that I can also direct the discussion to go in specific directions, I can then make sure that the discussions that I'm having, even if it's small talk with somebody that I'm trying to network with, I can make it more valuable for both of us, just while making it more interesting from my side, of course. Younger me would have just said no to all sorts of small talk. Because when I graduated from KBK, it was really, really profoundly important that I knew these lecturers and professors. And I noticed that when I came to this like real world of photography and getting out of KBK, coming back to Finland, later on I realized that a lot of connections that I've made, whether they were, curators or maybe other photographers, lecturers, teachers, a lot of people were looking up to them. And I didn't realize that me having a connection with would maybe help me in getting a specific job, or maybe just applying for another course or whatever it was. And I do not think that making your connection with someone just because they're of this higher position, maybe it will not hurt you if when you are studying at KBK, you would go to talk to lecturers, just give them your information, maybe ask them about something, because guess what? Not a lot of people are doing that. So if you are the one who is doing this, you will be remembered. And I cannot emphasize this more, but being remembered by somebody who is seeing a lot of students, a lot of teachers while they're coming and visiting to give a lecture, I think it's profoundly valuable. And I do feel that because KBK is in the heart of Europe, I do feel that they have this beautiful platform where they can invite people to have lectures. They're able to invite visiting teachers, not something that we would have in Finland. So I feel that definitely for that specific reason, academies like KBK, they have a very different and unique way of connecting you with individuals that you find interesting too for your field. So go to the lectures that you feel you're too tired to go, and talk to the teachers, and just organize different meetings if you can with maybe even people from your class, just getting to know everyone, and not in the fake way, but just come out as you are and just let them get to know you and what you're about. And don't be afraid to ask for help or advice, because these people are there to give that to you and they won't hesitate to help you out. And this way also you will be left with something really profound from your studies in KBK. I'll be honest, my studies at KBK were so memorable. Yes, they were hard at times, but overall I would say that I learned so much during these years. So if you're really thinking of becoming a better photographer, even a professional one, I would say that KBK might be the right choice for you. And chances are, if you're watching this video, you already have some of these required pieces in place. Will it require effort? Definitely. But will it also provide tools and opportunities that you will not acquire anywhere else? Heck yes. Okay guys, this was this week's video. I would love to hear what you think about it, and I'll see you next week.